You're welcome back, and this is Business Live. And Ghana's cereals and legumes production increased by over 700,000 metric tons following the introduction of government's flagship Planting for Food and Jobs. This is according to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And also in today's summaries, Facebook is in trouble. We will tell you why shortly.
Ghana's cereals and legumes production increased by 707,150 metric tons following the introduction of the government's flagship Planting for Food and Jobs program. Dr. Jalen Nura, Minister of State at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, who announced this, said maize distributed under the program yielded 485,000 metric tons. That of onion came to 11,150 metric tons, pepper 59,920 metric tons, and tomato 65,988 metric tons. He gave the figure at the two-day National Policy Summit held in Kumasi, the Ashanti regional capital. The World Bank last Friday approved two International Development Association credits of $60 million for the Ghana Energy Sector Transformation Initiative Project and the Ghana Tourism Development Project. Specifically, the Ghana Energy Sector Transformation Initiative Project received $20 million to strengthen the capacity of the energy sector, implement sector reforms, and improve energy sector planning and coordination in Ghana. According to the World Bank Country Director for Ghana, Henry Kerali, the project supports the government's plan through a comprehensive package of regulatory, policy, operational measures and platforms for stakeholder engagement to help the government address near-term challenges and lay the groundwork for Ghana's energy sector transformation. He also added, electricity consumers will also benefit from enhanced sector governance and improved energy services and access. The government on Wednesday laid a paper in Parliament for the amendment of portions of the controversial $510 million Ameri deal. It follows a motion filed by the Adanse Asukwa MP, Katie Hammond, for Parliament to cancel the Ameri agreement due to what he calls misrepresentations by the company when the deal was presented to the House under the Mahama administration. The paper seeking to amend the deal was referred to the Joint Committee on Finance and Mines and Energy for consideration and report by the First Deputy Speaker, Joseph Osei-Wusu. The Mahama administration signed the $510 million contract with Ameri to build power plants, owned and operated for 5 years before transferring it to the government of Ghana during the energy crisis in 2015. Facebook stock is set for its worst day ever by far. Shares of the tech giant fell 19% at the opening bell on Thursday. Facebook warned investors on Wednesday that sales growth will slow in the coming quarters as the company adjusts its strategy to focus on privacy. The drop wiped out nearly $120 billion in market value, one of the biggest losses ever for a public company. CEO Mark Zuckerberg's net worth plummeted more than $11 billion, according to Forbes, which tracks billionaires' portfolios. Facebook's chief financial officer David Werner said on a conference call with investors that Facebook is putting privacy first after the Cambridge Analytica scandal triggered a wave of horrible press, customer angst, and regulatory scrutiny around the world. As an example of its new strategy, Werner said Facebook will put more development muscle behind the company's stories feature. That will put a drag on sales because Facebook makes more money on its core news feed than its other products.
Oh, wow, Darryl. Facebook.
Well, yeah,
I don't know,
tough
it's a
times
big deal
for Facebook.
Exactly.
You know, because of issues with data privacy, they're having to deal with it now. Of course, it's affecting advertising,
shareholders
interest generally from users and all of that. And we'll be delving into that.
That's what we're doing for the main story, exactly.
Yes, yes.
It's not a good news for shareholders and the owner of Facebook as well. But when I come back for the main story, we will discuss that.
All right, thanks very much indeed, Sandy. So let's get you straight on to what's been happening today. The Trade Ministry has been outlining conditions for restoring a ban on foreigners trading in retail markets. This after the Ghana Union of Traders Association accused the ministry of not being committed to enforcing the country's investment laws. There's more in the following report.
The Trade Ministry's response follows decision by the Ghana Union of Traders Association (GUTA) to boycott activities of the National Task Force on Retail Trade because of how the ministry has handled the ban. The union maintains that government's posturing shows that they are not committed to the whole process. But speaking to Joy Business, the Deputy Minister of Trade rejected these arguments that government is not interested in protecting the lot of Ghanaian retailers. He's, however, been outlining conditions that would result in restoring the ban.
Traders have every reason to be concerned. Now, that's notwithstanding, they come to the market and they are able to afford the prime areas, especially when it comes to how much money they pay for it. A shop that probably might cost a Ghanaian 10 Ghana cedis, a foreigner would pay 40 Ghana cedis for it. And for me, I think it's a source of worry that anybody should be concerned about. So if the trading public in Ghana are agitating or they are agitated, I understand.
The minister also maintained that they would go ahead with activities by the National Task Force on Retail Trade without necessarily engaging members of the Ghana Union of Traders Association.
Yeah, that this committee was not done for one group. The exercise was not done for GUTA. The exercise was done, it's a national exercise. And the committee, as I speak to you, they are even meeting. If GUTA is not meeting or is not part of it, it doesn't mean that the national exercise is going to abate. No. We will still carry on with our mandate as a ministry and see how we'll bring this matter to a successful close.
It's all about GUTA.
It's not for GUTA. We are not doing it for GUTA. We are doing it for Ghana.
Sources say the ban might take a while, especially as actors as the Foreign Affairs Minister and the President are now interested in the matter.
The Ghana Printers and Paper Converters Association is urging the Public Procurement Authority to make the database for electronic bidding more reliable. The PPA, which was introduced under the Public Procurement Act 663, among other reasons, is to ensure fairness in the bidding process within the public sector.
For now, doing business with the Public Procurement Authority (PPA) would be driven by technology. As such, the PPA has commenced electronic registration of various institutions responsible for supplying public procurement to complement the PPA's electronic bidding agenda. One of such suppliers is the Ghana Printers and Paper Converters Association. Speaking to Joy Business after the registration process in Accra, President of the association, James Apiabe-Ekun, lauded the PPA and called for stringent monitoring of the process to prevent any avoidable setback.
The sanctity of the process itself will have to be looked at. And the sanctity of the process is the inability of anyone else to interfere with what is done. There have been a few instances where we have known that after bidding, the individuals who bidded or got the contracts were difficult to find. So all these put together seem to suggest that the process should be very dependable. Once it's going to be done electronically, there would be the need for us to trust the system. And there can be encryptions to limit intrusions and things like that.
Meanwhile, Mr. Apiabe-Ekun laments how non-members of the association flout industry regulations.
Like any other in the industry, we are saddled with a few internal problems. One of them being jobs and making sure that we internally are able to regulate ourselves in terms of standards. We are making sure that our set standards are adhered to. We also are very much in tune with how people who are not under any authority, who do not belong to any association and the like, who produce books or materials that are substandard, and because they do not belong to any association and there is freedom of association, it's a bit difficult to regulate them.
Bismarck Ausa, Joy Business.
In other news tonight, the Trade Ministry has announced plans to launch a Startup Ghana program next month. This is the latest initiative by government geared towards entrepreneurship development. Deputy Minister of Trade Carlos Ahenkra disclosed this at the Young Entrepreneurs Forum organized by the Ghana Investment Promotion Center GIPC in Accra, where he was guest speaker. He highlighted other initiatives government is undertaking to boost the startup ecosystem.
About 5 incubation centers and about 5 public universities here in Ghana. We want to bring these incubators close to the doorstep of our youth, so that we would bring out the creativity and innovation that you have right at the doorstep of where you graduate. One thing we've also that's come to us, or we come to realize, is the fact that there are many young entrepreneurs who don't even have offices to operate from. So as a board member of the GIPC and also the Deputy Minister of Trade, we're going to ask GIPC to include in their budget for next year creating impact hubs.
Chief Executive of the GIPC, Yofi Grant, urged the young entrepreneurs to take advantage of opportunities, especially the Continental Free Trade Agreement.
By 2050, Africa will be 1/4 of the world's population. It will also have the youngest population in any one region. It will also have 1 billion of the world's workforce. Isn't that something that you should start thinking about today? No matter how small your business plan is, how irrelevant you might think it is, it's probably what is going to put a lot of cash into your pocket, because there's a market waiting for you. And that market has even been made easier with the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement.
The Deputy Minister of Trade, Carlos Ahenkra, officially opened an exhibition of products and services by some startups as part of the program. Let's turn to issues with housing. Minister for Works and Housing, Samuel Atachia, says he's optimistic the National Mortgage and Housing Finance Initiative proposed in the mid-year budget review would yield the desired results. Now, the cut with over 2 million as a deficit for housing units, the minister says the new intervention will put an end to the challenge of mortgage financing in the country.
I think the mortgage arrangements that we're trying to put in place is directly associated with my ministry. Our mandate is to roll out a program that will give us the opportunity to wipe out the climbing housing deficit, which is estimated at about 1.7 million minimum. But if you want to wipe out that deficit, you're talking about developers bringing in their money to construct the housing units. For who? For people who can pay. So if you look at the supply side and the demand side, you can have people coming to use their own money to give you houses. But the off-takers, for one reason or the other, will not be able to buy the houses. That's why it's a categorical imperative that the president wants to bring about the paradigm shift. So for the first time in this realm called Ghana, we should have a credible mortgage arrangement. That is to say, an arrangement in which a middle-income individual, or even a low-income individual, to the extent of his taste and income, will be able to sign onto a mortgage system and pay part of his income to service a mortgage debt, and over a stretch of time, say 20 years, will come to own 1-bedroom house, 2-bedroom, as the case might be. If you're unable to do that, we don't have a future in terms of wiping out the housing deficit.
You're watching Business Live. We are taking a short break. When we come back, we'll tell you why Facebook is in trouble.
Welcome back to Business Life. And if you're a Facebook user, there's some sort of bad news out there for you, because Facebook shares have fallen by 19% at the opening bell on Thursday, and the social media giant is warning investors that sales growth actually will slow in the coming quarters as the company adjusts its strategy to focus on privacy issues, and the drop is nearly affecting some $120 million. We'll be going into that. Spiky, I love to call you Spiky, will be joining us to discuss that. But there's a data that we have put together for you. Let's take a look at the data, and then we'll come back for the discussion. So if you look at what is on the screens right now, the shares has fallen by 19% as of Thursday, and the value dropped almost by $120 billion in the market value. That's quite huge. And the bigger loser now for all this thing is the CEO, who is Mark Zuckerberg. And so that's what is happening as far as Facebook is concerned. And the company's previous worst single performance since July 2012, and then the stock fell by 11. That was when the stock fell by 11.7%. So this is not a good news for the technology giants. Yes, Kobe Nkrumah, you're welcome to the show. This is a bad news for Facebook.
Yes, it is, but even worse for Mark Zuckerberg himself. I mean, imagine that at the beginning of this month, he was the third world's richest person, and then overnight he lost about $18 billion. I can't even imagine. I sleep and I wake up and I've lost $18 billion. That's a lot of money. So basically, I mean, I'm sure people are wondering, how can he lose all that money?
Exactly.
You're the business person. You know all businesses run on investors who come and put their money because they believe in a business. And everybody believed in Facebook because it started making money. And then, yeah, unfortunately for them, they had this whole Cambridge Analytica scandal.
Exactly. Yes, for our viewers, let's get it straight. When we are talking about the Cambridge Analytica issue, what exactly was the issue?
So it was when there was a company, you know, after the US elections, there was a company that was gathering people's data without their knowledge.
Okay.
And it was not only gathering these people who had subscribed to use their services data, it was also gathering their friends' data. So if, say, you're my friend on Facebook, and I go and use this company's application on Facebook, and then they get my data, they also get access to your data, which was bad because then they're selling all this data to people so that they can do some psychographic targeted ads.
So it's purely privacy issues.
It's privacy issues. That's basically what it is.
How did they get there? Why was that the case?
They didn't take into consideration that people were concerned about their privacy. Like, I don't want my data to be shared with a company based in a certain country that I don't know. You know, I want to know that, okay, this is where my data is, my information. How is it that someone knows my name in this country without me telling them, you know? And the Americans are very, very concerned with this kind of information.
We are not. We'll talk about whether we are not. But if you look at the performance of Facebook, the number of users, I think it's quite high now. So why we don't see a drop in the number of users, yet investors and shareholders are pulling out?
So usually it's like they were increasing by a rate of about 3%.
Okay.
And then it reduced about half, 1.5. So they're thinking to themselves, if your daily user rate is dropping, even though it is actually rising, but it's not as high as it used to be. That's basically what it is. So it's like you usually
it used to be at the growth, let's say for instance 5.5%.
Yes.
It's still going, but that's reduced to about 3.5%.
Exactly.
That's the reason why. So even though we see the numbers high, it's still not what the investors want to see.
Because they actually had predictions, and then it didn't get there. According to the predictions, they didn't get to the predictions, so they panicked, I think.
In all this, Kobe, do you think that Facebook has failed its users?
Yes, it has failed its users when it comes to privacy issues.
Okay.
Because, I'm sure most of our audience in Ghana don't know about privacy and they are not really concerned. Most of them are not concerned. But in America, where Facebook actually makes most of their money, about $25 per user, it is a huge concern.
How much are we, the Ghanaian market or African market?
About $1.
$1 per user.
About $1
so
per
we are
user.
really clearly not the target.
We can't save them. Even though we don't care about privacy, and they could say, oh, okay, then let's, focus on the markets that don't really care about privacy. But they're not really making money off us. $1 per user versus $25 per user.
So what's the big deal? One would say that they have Instagram and they also have WhatsApp. So why should Facebook losing its shares and then all that be a big deal?
The funny thing is that they were actually trying to cover up Facebook's mishaps with WhatsApp, Instagram, and even Messenger. You know, they detached Messenger from Facebook, and now it's an individual app on its own. Luckily for them, Instagram is growing like really fast, and their competitor Snapchat. The stories, you know, this whole stories that disappear after 24 hours that Snapchat started.
Yes.
When they started the same thing on Facebook, now they have more users on Facebook, on Messenger, and on Instagram than even Snapchat. But still, the Facebook user rate is dropping, and as a result, investors are scared because Facebook is the flagship product. That's what started the whole thing, and then it spread out Instagram, and then WhatsApp, and then Messenger.
What is happening is clearly a sacrifice for money over trust and privacy issue. Moving forward, yes, first of all, before we talk about the way forward for Facebook and how they will be able to come out of this, the Ghanaian or the African market, should we be concerned about privacy issues, and are we concerned at all in the first place?
First of all, we are not. People drop their phone numbers on Facebook when they browse. Hey, call me, and then they write that.
Locations are shared.
Locations are shared. You usually get this thing where, you know, this Facebook feature called nearby. You're driving by someone's house and the person gets a notification that you are nearby. And they call you, oh, I just saw that you're nearby. These are all privacy breaches that people were really, you know, concerned about elsewhere. But in Africa and Ghana, to be specific, we really aren't. Is
there a danger in there?
Yes. Imagine that I'm a stalker and then I've stalked you and added you on Facebook, and I enable nearby, and then you are nearby me. I know you are nearby me. I can stalk you. I can find you. It's bad.
I see. We'll wait to see how Facebook is going to come out of this, how they are going to build the public trust in terms of security. Thanks so much, Kobe. But we move on to our interview of the day, and the MTN IPO closes next Tuesday, and fund managers are optimistic of good returns. The latest to express interest is SAS Fortune Funds. We've been asking the manager why they are showing so much interest in participation.
The IPO for MTN is closing on 31st July, which is Tuesday. We expect that it's a good company. I don't have anything really bad about the company. It's good, and those who want, we've done an analysis. We think that it is good. It's a good investment. Just selling about 35% to local market, and that means that the original shareholders are still holding on to the chunk of it. So of course, if it is something that is bad, I'm not sure they will sell it to us. We've done our analysis, and we believe that it's a good stock. It's a good company to invest in. So we can invest in, and we would also push some money into it.
Okay, but are you not fearing any mad rush because it's going to be the last days investors?
In terms of fund management, because obviously if you go in on the first day, the money will be kept in an escrow account. So for cash management purposes, fund management and funds like this will go in from this week, and perhaps settle on the last day, perhaps. So that's what exactly we're going to do.
All right, interesting stuff. Are you also investing in the MTN IPO?
Unfortunately, no, I will think about it.
All right, Sandy. Well, as we conclude tonight, we want to pay tribute to one illustrious man. The final funeral rites of former Vice President Parkwesi Mr. Arthur, currently underway at the Accra International Conference Center. He will be laid to rest tomorrow, Sandy.
Yes, and before he became the Vice President, he was the Governor of the Central Bank of Ghana from 2009 to 2012, where he championed a number of positive developments. Here's the highlights of some key developments during his tenure.
During his tenure, he was instrumental in the operationalization of the Non-Bank Financial Institutions Act 2008, Act 774 for savings and loans companies, which saw the minimum capital requirement of this category of microfinance institutions increase to 7 million Ghana cedis. During his time at the Bank of Ghana, he also oversaw the smooth merger between the Trust Bank and Ecobank Ghana. This merger was in response to the increase in the minimum capital requirement of banks in Ghana from 60 million cedis to 120 million cedis. Although plans of the merger began before his tenure, it was finally concluded under his administration. His tenure also saw the sanctioning of a bank and a number of forex bureaus in the country as they flouted a number of regulations on the conduct of foreign exchange transfers. His tenure also saw a continuation of works on the upgrade of the 50 cedi notes to ensure that the banknote security is not compromised and to maintain integrity by avoiding a general loss of confidence in the denomination. He was also a strong proponent of the use of credit referencing as a means of bringing down the high NPLs in the country at that time. Rates at the 37th MPC press conference, which was his first and was held on November 2009, were put at 18%, down by 18.5% in September 2009. At the end of his tenure, the monetary policy
Great man, so sad we had to lose him all of a sudden, but we say may his soul rest in peace.
Peace, yeah.
That's it for tonight's program. Thanks for watching. My name is Daryl Kwao.
My name is Sandra Esinamapen. We'll be back tomorrow for Business Live.